So, thermal imaging. Take a guess why we use this guy? See, now you want it. Now you want it. Think the opposite way.
See the cold.
Cold, right, exactly. So, I should be orange, red, and yellow in there, right?
They should be like that dark.
Well, I have it set up to black, cold, white, hot. So you're looking for blue and black spots to kind of move on their own. Now this thing is going to fluctuate based on what's inside the screen. My skin obviously should be between 97 and 99 degrees, hopefully no warmer. But if you take me out, you're now going to have some orange, red, and yellow show up somewhere else. Does that make sense? So it's going to change based on whatever's inside of the screen. So really what you're looking for, blue and black to start moving on their own. The last 2 tours I did, which would have been Sunday and Saturday, I did catch something, like very significant. And I'll be honest, this isn't a tool where I always catch something. It's just nice to have it at the ready. So you're basically just going to be a camera person all night long. You don't even have to stare at this guy. Just record the whole thing. So you're going to hold it horizontal, just like this. Obviously you want to be able to watch it, but the red square on there on this side, that means it's recording. So if you tap it by accident, please let me know, because that means I have to splice your guys' video together so you have one full video to watch.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's it. Very simple.
Cool.
Just hold it. So we're going to be using 2 different types of spirit boxes with you guys. And I will put the EMF meter on the outside of my bag, just because it's kind of our first indication something's happening. But let's get into this first recordable one. So this is the one that's going to go to you.
Okay.
It's very simple to use. Do you guys understand how the spirit boxes work?
No.
Okay, perfect. So they're basically an FM radio sweeper. So it's going to sweep through all of the FM radio stations at a very quick rate. On your TV shows, it's the white noise that's pretty annoying. Okay, so this is slowed down on purpose. So I want the radio chatter, the DJs, the song lyrics, and all of that commercial stuff to come through. I want you to tell me what you hear, even if it's one of those 3 things. So it's a 50-50 shot that it might be a piece of communication from the spirit. So again, I'm not going to make things up. So the cool thing about this one is that it records. So you guys are going to get the full recording back in the morning. It doesn't record any outside noise, and it also records even when it's on mute. So with that said, when I start this, it'll already be recording, and all you'll have to do is turn the volume up and down when we're ready to listen to it.
Okay.
And I'll always give you clues on when we're ready for it. This guy's recording.
What's something that has a black outline?
What do you mean a black outline?
They have like a black outline with like a white line in the middle.
So
Inside of them.
it's just, if it's not moving, I'm not worried about it. It just means it's the coldest spot in your camera.
Oh, okay.
So you have one button. It's right here at the top. Next to the button, it's a wheel. So you control the volume.
Okay.
Really, really simple. That's all you got to do. So when we're ready for it, pull it out, turn it up. We'll start listening in. I mean, normally when I have a group of 10, I kind of spread people out. But with you guys just being your own party, this way we're all going to stick together. So, let's see.
Do you end up feeling the spirits around you?
So here's what I won't do. I won't put any emotion of mine into this whatsoever.
Okay. But I mean, are you one of those kind of people who can actually feel them?
Am I sensitive to it? I am more
I
sensitive.
mean, my friend is. So, and I believe in stuff and what different things as far as being sensitive for.
So I think we all have that sixth sense.
Okay.
Some of us are a little bit more in tune with it than others.
Okay.
Am I one of those people? I'm one of those people where on these ghost hunts, if people bring somebody with them, so you had a parent or somebody close to you pass away, they go home with me. So there are things on my bag to keep me protected.
Okay.
So I have like a lot of grounding stones and things like that to keep everything positive for us on the tool. That's why this is not a scary tool. So
I know, I looked up stones and I didn't bring them, but I was like, I don't know if they would screw something up. So I was like, we're just going to leave them here.
So what I carry with me keeps everything grounded. So again, if you were to bring somebody with you, and they decide they would, because you got to remember, I have epilepsy. I'm the weak-minded one out of the group, no matter which group we're in. So they're going to attach to me. So even though I'm the expert and I can recognize things, I'm still the one going home with them. So if I get to my car and I can't open my hands up and my eyes start flailing around, yeah, it's a quick text to the wife of whatever I can figure out how to text her, and then we take it from there. So it's happened in the past. That's why we have the stones. Ever since I've had him, it's been about
If
a
you
year
end up
now.
with my mother, send her back with us, will you please? We like having her around. Yeah.
You're going to be using a spirit box too, but it's a little different than the one that she has. It's going to spell things out for us, literally. It's kind of like the... You guys watch the ghost hunting shows?
Yes,
I have seen it a few times, but...
in the hospital.
This is an app on a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's meant to be a game and a hoax. So, here's what I'm going to tell you about the word list on what it's going to do for you. 80% of it is absolute bullshit. It doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
It's the other 5 to 20% where I can find a link to where we are, something going on with us, something against somebody you guys know that's already passed on, Mom, for example, or a person I'm talking about. And I will always give you a verifiable link of why it's relevant, unless, of course, it's something that happened because of you. Does that make sense? So, let me, I guess, first show you the main screen. So really what you're going to be looking at is this screen most of the night, and it's going to give you a word in the center of the screen, and then save the list as a whole. The last group I did had about 80 terms, a couple of them just popped up. So I'm going to clear them out and start it off fresh, so you guys have your own list. I do give you the full list back. Why? Because somebody will text me later on and says, my cat's name is Radar, and the word list said cat Radar. I don't know you guys like that. So again, something might come through that you didn't realize, you know, because we were talking and stuff like that. EMF meters, I'm going to go ahead and put one on the outside of my bag just so you guys know what that is. So this is very common on your TV shows, and it's the exact same model. It's just a basic disruption in electromagnetic fields. They never explain how they work, because every ghost hunter wants to say whenever this thing goes off or does anything that a ghost is nearby. It's not always the case. So let me explain how they work. It measures 3 different types. The first one is, it's natural, it comes from the earth. That's why it's not doing anything right now. Okay, so the second one is going to be from electronic devices. So that means anything you guys are holding, cell phone would make it go into a rhythm because it's giving off a pulse. Parking meters, same thing. Our electrolytes underneath the sidewalks. It's strong enough to make it go into a rhythm. Electrical wires from a building, anything man-made. What we're looking for on this guy is for it to go absolutely nuts. We want it to go crazy. We want it, and it's only a, all right, we might have something going on here. It's still not a, oh my God, there's a ghost here. So it's, again, I'm not that guy. So it's okay. We had an EMF going off here. I'll definitely have to pay attention to the recording because I was telling a story, or, you know, even the video that, you know, might be actually happening in the morning. So that's going to stay on my bag, pretty visible. Put this in there so we can see it. And I would normally use that particular app, but so many people are interested in it. I had another cell phone lying around, so I made it another device. Now I have other devices that include lasers and things to debunk what you have going on there and so forth and so on. But again, we're going to stick to the recordable stuff. So you guys all have recordable devices. I'm carrying the audio. So yeah, there you go. Hold it by the phone. You got this.
Henry, speed, rage.
Henry?
I don't know.
Is that what it says?
It did.
So we start here for a reason. Did you get words already?
Yes.
Were you able to find the list of how to get to it?
Henry
I can tell you.
Stickmin.
Yeah, Henry, speed. There was
Speed.
Speed was one, and then launch.
Okay.
Launch.
And rage.
Henry
Oh,
might be
shoot.
something based on the next story I'm going to tell you. So I don't know yet. I have to dive into it in a moment.
I play a Henry Stickmin game.
It's okay. The
Should we
teenager.
apologize for him now before we start this?
I have one teenager, slightly older than him, and my other one is 20. So I've already been through this. 2 girls though. So
I don't know if I'm ready for my girls to be teenagers.
very vague. I look for very specific things. Unless I can make a sentence out of it, like 4 or 5 words, and words like that are vague. Like Henry within gate, that would make sense. You know what I mean? Something along those lines. I would try to always piece together a sentence because I'm a wordsmith. That's just what I do.
Now, do you have signs that you may go into a seizure or anything like that that we need to be aware of? Okay.
I'm heavily medicated all the time.
Just the other, I would ask.
I always take my final pill right before it's over. And it only takes about 10 minutes. So, perfectly fine. I appreciate you asking. Alright, so.
I'm just worried that he's going to touch the button and there won't be any splicing because it will have stopped because he was too busy playing with it.
Exactly.
He's doing
We'll keep him grounded. Because there's going to be certain areas where people are really weird about a camera on their car, and I'm going to say you're just holding it at this point. Like there's no waving it around, pretending to be a camera person. You're just literally,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
There'll be certain places that people are a little fishy about that.
Okay.
So it goes.
Them.
That means you need to listen, okay?
Listen, again, very vague. So, we started here for a reason. This place used to be called Big John's. It was named after a football player from the 1947 New York Giants, Big John Kennedy. So, Big John, he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel if they were of age or not to drink. One night, two guys come on from the Citadel. They're not old enough. John tells the bartender, get them out of here. They leave, pretty angry. The next night, they come back and try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. Big John sees what's going on. They get into a big old fist fight. It's John versus these two cadets. John starts pounding them into the floor, and a couple of shots were fired. So John gets shot in the neck, and the bullet ricochets and lands in the wall. He gets up, goes back to the bar, tells the bartender, get me another beer, get them an ambulance. Now, nobody dies in the story. So what's haunting the place? The bullet hole. It's still here. People that sit in the front of the bar, which ironically is the only place where I get any EMF from the meter, and that's only occasionally, is right inside that window. Now, they are renovating the place, as I'm sure you can tell with the wrong paper on the window, so I'll have to verify it's still there, make sure they don't move in, so I can keep telling the story. But people that sit in the front of the bar tend to get a little headache, queasy, nauseous, those kind of things. Anybody's feeling any of those type of symptoms, I need to know immediately. We will move on pretty quick. So, not to scare anybody, but I've had people pass out. I've had psychics just say, no, I can't do this. Sorry, have a good night, I'm out. It happens. So, and it hasn't happened just once. It's multiple times where people have literally passed out from certain locations. So,
So objects can actually do it instead of like people per se.
well, you have to remember, Big John's blood is on that bullet.
What? Okay.
It's still part of him.
I wouldn't have thought that.
That's so you're going to hear a lot of odd stories from me tonight. Oh, also keep in mind, Bristol is not always sightseeing. So again, some of these places they're a little odd. So if you wanted sightseeing, go on a carriage tour.
Oh, we already did that.
We did that already, so we're good. We're good.
And some of the things I'll tell you, like what else happened here, you probably already heard about on a carriage tour. So allegedly, we had a big earthquake here in 1886. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Not about as far as the earthquake, because the guy basically said the different steel poles or whatever on some of the buildings.
We didn't
The
come down
carriage
this way.
itself was down there, whatever, but we didn't come this way.
Yeah, and nobody
So-
talks about Big John's.
Okay.
This is another reason why I started here. My tour is stories you're not going to hear anywhere else. Like that's the whole point. Is your other ghost tours and your carriage rides, they're not going to point out an old bar. Right. You know what I mean? I point out so I can tell you guys a heated morning about headaches and nauseous and dizziness and that kind of thing. It's another reason why I started here. I'll have to get permission from whatever new bar owner's here so I can continue starting here. But the earthquake that we had, the only one we had, this is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. So the mantle that's above your head also wraps around the front of the building. A piece of that mantle from the front broke off, struck somebody in the head, and killed them. The previous bar owner used to see dark and shadows out here on East Bay Street, but I don't have any proof of that. It's just a little story to get your mind off of. You might actually get sick from the story. So, I am a very interesting fellow. You're also going to see I'm not your typical tour guide. So, again, I've already told you like that 80% is bullshit. Like, we're going to have fun tonight. This is a lot different than what you guys have done in the past. So, Caleb, are you ready to go ghost hunting? All right. We're going to head this way. Where did you guys park, by the way?
Over there.
Okay, perfect. Doing as far as the route of doing the strolling. There's really only one place I can't take things with wheels. So strollers, walkers, yada yada yada. So really what we're going to be doing, I was thinking along the way here, because I mean, I was like, oh, this is the stroller night. I was like, I have like a million stories in my head, so where can I stop along the way? We're gonna stop at a place along the way. I usually go up an alley that's cobblestone. There's no way.
Yeah, that's when we tried going
Shadler,
down.
We went up there the other
No,
day.
we have 15 different alleys here. Most of them are made out of cobblestone.
Okay, yeah, we had to move to a sidewalk because it was bad.
Yeah. So the
Yeah,
one
it was
I
like
normally
Shadler's.
go down is called Lodge Alley. It's right off of East Bay Street and runs up to what is that street? Can't think of it off the top of my head. But it runs into a neighborhood, but that's okay. So what we're gonna do, because we're gonna stop here, we're gonna stop at the next lot over there and kind of tell you what the history is there. And then we're gonna like cut through the middle of the market, and we're gonna stop by one alley, but we can't go through it because it's at the end it's residential. So I'll kind of add that extra in just to fill in for where Lodge Alley would have fit in.
Okay.
So, and then we have like 4 major spots at the next corner past that. So let's talk about where we are now. Just wanted to give you a quick agenda. So this is the Red Barn lot. This is where we keep the horses for your carriage rides. So the horses are inside the barn up there. They don't have glass over those windows, so they can't hear us. So really what we're going to be pretty quiet, especially with that spirit box that you have. We don't want to spook the horses. So if the lasers were out, it's definitely a no laser zone. I do have lasers to help us see things that we can't see with the naked eye. They're really cool, but they get Nick in a lot of trouble if they're in the wrong hands. So,
Yes.
So anyway, this is the same red barn.
So we live in farmland, so we know
Oh yeah.
mostly about
Cool.
but we don't own them, but we're
Right.
we work with
You're
them
upstate,
hands-on.
so
Yeah.
you said you were upstate New York, right?
Yeah.
Well, Western,
Well,
Which
it's
part?
not New York City.
Right.
Rochester area.
Okay, I know where you're at. I'm originally from Ohio,
Okay.
so
4-hour drive.
yeah, from Youngstown, Ohio, if that helps. No,
We've been to Cleveland, Ohio. That's about it.
okay, yeah, it's about an hour south of Cleveland.
Oh.
So this is the same red barn that held horses that delivered milk to Charleston. So whenever I'm telling you stories or a history of a building, it's all based off of. I'm going to emphasize keywords. Is really what I'm looking to say here. So with your spirit box, that's going to help you. So you really need to kind of pay attention to what those stories might be, because there might be certain keywords in those stories. Now, I also want you to think of your entire time with me as kind of a training course. So this is stage 1. So everything here is going to be super beginner. Spirit boxes are not TV. It's not, is somebody here? Because if somebody answers no, that means somebody's still here. So we're going to stay away from yes and no questions altogether. We're just going to stay away from them. Because if you get a real estate commercial that comes through and it says the word houses, you think you heard the word yes. And that gets everybody excited until I verify that it was houses the next day. So we're going to stay away from yes and no questions. I think we can all agree that the barn is red, right?
Yes.
So we're going to basically ask your spirit box, and yours as well, if somebody's here, tell us what color that barn is. We're going to be obviously listening for the color red, which is a suggested thought. But you can also hear words that are things that are specifically red. I want you to think of your spirit boxes as kind of Bumblebee from Transformers. Did you guys see that movie? Where he talks through the radio? It's the same principle. So it could be fire truck, rose, fire, things that are specifically red.
Picture?
What's that?
Picture? There's a picture in the window. Maybe they could
I'm
guess that.
thinking things that are only red. Like a fire truck is
red.
only
Okay.
red.
Oh,
I was
okay.
gonna say, as soon as you said it, I should have like, well, there could be. It's red, but there's too many of them.
Right, exactly. It has to be something very
Okay.
specific. So you're going to try that 2, 3, maybe 4 tries, and you're going to wait about 30 seconds in between each time you ask. You want to ask the same question multiple times. In the event you don't get an answer, then we're going to open it up. What's inside the barn? Now we have horses, which we know, but they're draft horses. That's their breed. There's carriages in there. They delivered milk and
Hay.
eggs. There's hay in there. We've gotten that before. But the word animal shows up. Still, I'll take it. Like, that's very direct. And it might not be a direct answer either. Also keep in mind, there are 4 pieces of communication out right now. So you might ask a question. We might hear the answer on there later. We just can't hear it in real time, or on my audio, or the answer might go to you. We're not going to be separating tonight, so we're going to be using these 2 in conjunction as far as your spirit boxes, just to see where the communication is going to come from.
Okay.
But this is really just a practice area, so like it's really, and don't get me wrong, the place is haunted. I might get something from Big John. You might get something from one of his teammates. I'm just telling you things I've gotten here in the past. We're only going to be very brief here, just so we get the gist of how to listen to that spirit box and basically how to ask questions to it.
Okay.
I haven't looked at the EMF meter yet, but you can see the thing's going crazy.
There's something to do.
Not necessarily. We need
There
other
might
further
be
evidence.
something here.
Exactly. There's always a might. So, and people, like, when I do this, it's not something inside my bag.
Place.
No. Yesterday, when we were on our carriage ride, she called the horses work horses. Work just came up, and then place just came up.
So workplace, because it's their workforce.
Yeah, workhorses. It's
Can I do that instead? That sounds so much cooler.
No, because I'm not going to be able to hold my hands like that all night long. Sorry.
My hands are already tired, that's one of the reasons.
you can put it down here. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
right here.
again, you don't have to be, I mean, you can literally just hold that thing, as long as it's horizontal, I'm good. And just keep that camera on the left-hand side. So that way it stays in YouTube the right way.
Malicious.
So that's going to be part of the 80% because I see that all the time. Because I know what words are, it has a vocabulary of 9,000 words. I paid for the upgrade just so I'd have a bigger vocabulary. Certain words like to come up all the time because, let's face it, to most people ghosts are scary. So that's going to come up with black mass and malicious and,
Right.
you know, kind of stuff like that.
Dark.
Let's get that spirit box of yours out and let's turn it up a little bit. And since we already have an EMF here, and let's see if anything else can come through. Find the wheel. There we go. Perfect, right? So if we have anybody hanging out with us, tell us what color the barn is. Again, it might not be a direct answer. It might be something else. It might be a number that I need to match up with a jersey number. Like they've done to me. And once you tell us the color of what the barn is, or it can't. I think I heard the word bar a minute ago.
I thought I heard treated bar or treated barn. Possibly. I thought I heard
Yeah.
treated.
Yeah. That's definitely something I'll have to dive into, and that's why we record it. So it's easier to deal with headphones on a computer or your phone.
Yeah, you can have it going like slow motion, I guess. Slow speed. You can hear better.
Yeah, so my audio here, just so you guys can hear the stories. And then
I'm thinking about, I'm not going to remember all this stuff. I'm going to remember bits and pieces.
that's okay. That's exactly. I honestly started this with this audio and a different type of spirit box. That was like that's how I started this whole tour, and then I just kept growing and growing and growing. And most of the associations I was doing before were with a psychic. So it was a whole different ballgame. It just went to a different level when I started doing tours instead of what I was doing for a normal job. So I don't have a normal job. This is it. This is what I do.
Okay.
I'm a writer. I sell books, and I take people to something. This is my life.
Cool. Almost sounded like a scream. Is it changing channels all by itself?
Yep. I have it on a sweep. And it slowed down on purpose because again, you guys aren't used to listening to this every day. So when I do my own investigation, depending on the location, I'll set the sweep rates at different speeds. So if I'm in like a dead zone like Fort Sumter, I'll have it going as fast as I can make it go, just because it's going to be white noise through the whole place. Because there's no signal out there. It's not going to pick up FM radio stations in the middle of the water.
Right.
So I'll just have it set on the fastest speed, and if something disembodied comes through, awesome. But I'll listen to the whole recording for you guys tomorrow, because we're going to be recording about 5-6 hours worth of stuff. I only go through it for about 2 hours. I'm only going to go to certain hot spots and just kind of give you things that I heard. If it's relevant, I'll tell you why. If not, it'll teach you how to listen.
Are we gonna act it again?
Go ahead. What are you waiting on? This is your tour, man. I do this every night.
Forgot what the question was though.
What color's the barn?
What color's the barn?
Number 3. Black. Wrong color.
Black. Horses. Maybe.
Yeah, but if I can get something.
Maybe it'll say horses.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I was just insensitive. Thank you for telling me that. The word regret was up for the longest time.
Yeah.
Regret.
And again, that thing will spit out its own word every minute.
Well, I regret not bringing the hat.
You have the hood.
You have a hood.
Oh shoot. How did I not know that?
Alright, you guys basically got the gist of how your devices work, right?
Yeah.
Still learn from those. Go ahead and turn that down. Basically all this place is.
Can I start this story now?
We changed to bounce around with everybody, with all the lasers and thermometers and all the other extras. Yeah. Give everybody different tactics. Not to mention, I really don't like screwing the horses, especially when you're trying to clean them.
Oh man, I really want to do a spirit box. They look cool. They sound cool. Wish I could do a spirit box.
If I were to have a grand finale, let's get everybody out of this. It's the only way in and out, so I just like to make sure everybody's good people compliant. So, if I were to have a grand finale, this would be it. Because it's that out. So, this is home to Eliza and Charles Pinckney. Have you guys heard the name Pinckney since you've been down here?
No.
Just the streets. Yeah, I was going to say, at least you probably saw the street name at least. So, Eliza and Charles Pinckney were the son, or they had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. The son and the nephew were signers of our Constitution from South Carolina.
That's something about
Yeah,
that.
the-
It's like, yeah, if only our American people would actually follow it now.
I know,
They
right?
said 2 pieces of it are buried somewhere.
Buried in here somewhere. At a church.
They said two
I thought it was-
signers of the Constitution grew up there.
We're buried here.
Yeah, but I thought
Their bodies.
the Constitution was also buried here or something like that, the writing itself.
Mhm.
No, the writers.
Okay, I wasn't paying attention.
Should have recorded it.
Should have recorded it exactly. I was busy taking pictures.
I hate politics. And we just got out of an election. I just like to point out that those Constitution signers...
And it's kind of going a little crazy here and there.
Yeah, it's going to. Because I'm about to get started with Eliza. Eliza, the mom, married Charles, her husband, at a very young age because her father, who was over in England, thought he was dying. And she didn't want to go home. She didn't think he was dying. So she got married. She stayed here. Didn't give her any kind of citizenship because we didn't have such a thing yet. It basically just said, I'm not going anywhere, Dad. You better get better. And he did. She was right. So once, this is one of those places where people are really weird about their cars being filmed. So you might want to keep that low.
Here.
There you go. I've had people come out screaming at me, which is always a good sign.
I know,
Stop
right?
filming my car. Stop filming my car. But at any rate, so
Get it back.
Dad starts sending over wedding gifts. It's kind of an apology. Well, Eliza was a botanist, which means she liked to play with plants and experiment with them. One of those plants happened to be indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes it's blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. None of us are wearing it today. Normally somebody's on my door. I'm like, you're wearing it right now. But that's how we still use it. Certain denim companies still use indigo to dye their blue jeans.
Yeah. I have friends that were more holistically and we still dyed things.
See if any of it's actually indigo, because
I'll
it's
have to
a
ask.
very specific crop.
Okay.
So our rice plantations here in Charleston were starting to go downhill. So we needed another cash crop to be able to replace it, and Eliza's the one that started it. So she talked to her slaves, which were standing right where the slave quarters would have been, for the house anyway. And they came from the Gullah culture, which means they knew how to cultivate this plant in our very weird temperatures. So she learned from her own servants and slaves on how to make this a huge cash crop. And then she used her dad's contacts overseas to be able to make it profitable. So she started selling it overseas. Think of the color royal blue. Think of even our Civil War uniforms. Both the Union and Confederate were both made out of indigo, even though the Confederates had gray uniforms. That's just less indigo. So again, indigo is a huge cash crop for us. So I'm just touching the iceberg on the things that Eliza's done, but there's some weird questions that you can ask Eliza that you can hopefully get the answers for in your spirit boxes. So first off, I already told you she got married at a young age, so you can find out what age that was. You can ask anything you want to about Eliza's death. How old she was, what did she die from, where did she die, and where is she buried, and which U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Do you know what a pallbearer is? I always quiz the teenagers. You don't know what a pallbearer is?
One that actually carries it.
Yep, they carry the coffin to the grave. This woman had a president carry her to her grave. That's an honor on both accounts. So, again, pretty big deal there. You can ask what happened to the mansion, because obviously it's no longer here. This is just a parking lot.
Did the mansion used to sit here, or was it?
The mansion sat in the front of this lot and faced East Bay Street. And then Eliza's garden was over where that white truck is and came all the way across. And we're standing where the slave quarters would have been. So there's probably a little bit more to it. But again,
Mom,
just based
what are
on...
trade devices? Nina,
I can't hold it either.
really?
Eliza and Charles had more than just one kid. If you're going to ask questions about the children, just ask how many. There was a tragedy involved, and if you start poking the bear, she'll stop all activity. So, EMF, I've been kind of eyeballing it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been
been
going
going.
crazy the whole time. It doesn't always do that. It's like a 95% chance that it will, but I have had nights where it did nothing at all, and I've had no activity whatsoever. I just got a disembodied EVP from here about a week and a half ago, which basically means it wasn't radio chatter. It was coming over top of static, and it said, just leave us alone. So, I mean, it's very clear. So, some of the evidence, depending on what type of evidence it is, will always go to the Stories in the Cemetery Facebook page, and it's posted there if you guys want to actually take a look and listen to it. It's pretty crazy stuff. I've caught ghosts here with the thermal imaging camera. Legitimate. You see the figure of their heads. It's definitely spirit activity. This is one of the few locations I've actually caught anything with that camera. It's just nice to have it ready. So this is a place where you guys are going to pull out your spirit boxes and start asking questions. I'm not going to do it for you. Again, you paid me to go to work. That's the interesting thing. So the EMF's already going off here. You're more than welcome to stay here. We can walk around a lot if you want. But we're a little bit more open. Obviously, Dave's sleeping, so we don't want to wake her up.
How many kids have you had?
And remember, that answer can go anywhere. crazy on your.
She's hers is around.
Barry said around. Said advise.
Alright, that would make sense. Charles probably would have had to advise his son.
Well, and it was right after you said about leaving us
Melody?
alone also.
Tip Melody.
Good advice, right?
Good advice. Sorry. Melody?
There's all kinds of things, huh?
Yeah. And I mean, here there's been more work. Like over there, Plaza.
Yeah.
But here there's been more work coming up.
Up to chatting.
So I've had some nights where I have 50% of the list make sense. Other nights I might have 1/10. But I can prove. Like the good stuff, like advise, but I can't prove that Charles was an advisor to his son or anything like
Right.
that. So unless it tells me what his title was, his birthday, things I can prove, that's a legitimate thing. Just like jersey numbers, I need something I can prove.
Right.
Can I ask her when her birthday was?
Go ahead.
When is Eliza? When is your birthday? Almost,
Yeah, you can turn it up a little bit here.
Almost
You're worried
sounds
about waking her up.
almost sounds like asking Alexa.
Almost.
Exam. What is going on with yours? Do a whole sweep of it.
I've been doing a whole sweep
I know,
slowly,
but do it so that we can see it. Put it up in the air.
Nobody's gonna bother her here.
Okay, Caleb, my eyes are not coming out of your belly button. I can't see
well,
it.
too bad. Maybe. I'm trying to go down slowly so you can tell if things are moving or not.
Walk at a normal pace.
Okay, well, yeah. Yes, no, that says Howard. Or prison. God, my back hurts. Wait, what is that?
I don't know everything about them, so I'm constantly learning to be able to put these clues together to learn more and more about their lives every time. So every week, there's always at least 3 or 4 new nuggets of information that I learn. I was like, okay, that could be something.
And you can talk to any one of them, or if you were to ask one, like,
I try to stick to Eliza.
okay,
If the other ones want to come through, I can prove it
okay,
because they're very specific facts.
okay.
You know, the battles they were in, the year they were born, you know, so forth and so on. It all still ties back to Eliza. So I try to stick to home base,
Okay.
kind of with her because it was, and again, it's Women's History Month. Not, you know what I mean? So
Right.
I always try to stick to Eliza because not many people talk about her here. We have books
Yeah,
and
like I
books,
said, I never heard anything about her.
and it's crazy because there's dozens of books written on this one based on her indigo class and all the things that she did for the country.
I think we're gonna have to do a study on it.
And you're
We
gonna have links.
homeschool, so
Oh, yeah, Eliza's pretty cool. She's done a lot of stuff.
definitely have to research her.
Eliza, did you like your garden?
Not yes or no's. Not yes or no's.
I'm sure she did. So maybe something that was her favorite plant.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though I might not be able to prove it, if a plant comes through, like hyacinth or some very specific type of plant, I can say, okay, that's definitely a direct response.
Eliza, what's your favorite plant?
Good go.
It's a dome.
That came out really clear. Okay, that really freaked me out a little bit.
Did you ask her anything else, sir?
I did.
Eliza, what did you cast from?
Ugly. Ah, she didn't spell it me.
Something came through there. I didn't catch it.
How many children do you have?
So you said she doesn't like talking about her kids?
She starts going into the detail of them. That's on her. I'm not poking around at the different types of things that happen to them.
Yeah. It's a little bit of protective over them. Wait. Not all people turn into ghosts, correct?
I don't know. I don't know all the answers. So I do this.
Some people say it's just people who have died that don't have any, they have unfinished business left. So, wait, do they have any dates on when her kids died? They might have died, so she might have died, they might have died before her. And that's why she's like, so sad about it, maybe. I kind of want to ask her what music she likes, but I'm not sure if there's music back then.
Sure there was. But they didn't have genres like what we have now. Music was just music. I'm talking about colonial times. This was the mid-1750s. Almost 300 years ago. Probably getting a great history lesson on this trip, aren't you? Because it's all history down here. All history down here.
This would like sacred. Right.
Yep.
My
Cashier's
arm
check.
hurts.
That's interesting.
What's interesting?
It said cashier's check.
Cashier.
We don't really use checks anymore.
You said something about the cash, someone robbing something from over there?
Yeah, but that would have been cash.
That would have been cash, not cashier's check.
Why don't you tell us what you died from?
People die how? He asking like questions. Does anyone know how she died?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Liza, what did you die from?
Does anyone know what she actually died from?
I do. I'm going to give you all the answers to the questions I gave you. I'm not going to leave you hanging.
Eliza, can you please tell us what you died from? Hoping the police will help.
So,
Almost
you can always
done.
check the terms, the list. If you hit this right here, kind of scroll through. Never hit clear, and don't hit the red X's. Just hit the circle back, and it'll take you back to your main screen.
I know I'm watching it, but I'm trying to actually pay attention. It said decide.
Side.
It said Adam just came up. Beach.
Adam.
And I've been asking her what happened to her and what happened to her
Grocery.
children. I'm trying to talk with her.
Grocery.
Now, if I'm talking away from everything, will Is it possible that she could still come up on any of the devices as I'm walking around asking?
So a lot of times when I have my groups of 10 spread out, I might have, I use a reverse spirit box on my phone when I spread out like that. So that way, in case something does come through, I'll say, hey Eliza, how many people did I bring with me? And that's not a question I suggest to you guys. And if somebody turns around and says, it just said the number 4. I'm like, well, because I brought 4 people with me.
Okay.
So I do that on purpose to prove that it can go anywhere.
Okay. Because I'm walking around, I'm thinking, okay,
So-
you're not telling me too much on here, but is it going to come to everything else?
And again, I mean, it's people that don't normally do this. I would continue with one question on one of my own investigations. You guys were question after question because I gave you so many, and they're all springing into your head, and you all want to ask something, and that's fine. But we just kind of have to keep in mind it takes them time to muster up energy to give us the answers. So the answer can come up as we're walking away, even at a whole different location.
Do you think that they can almost like see see us and how it is now?
Right.
So I gotta
They feel it too.
What do you get?
One, two,
Puncture
three,
to me
four,
would be a stabbing.
A bullet puncture?
Means some kind of hole that you're making.
Right.
And I asked about her and her
4,
children.
5, 6,
And I also
7,
asked about Charles,
10.
her husband. Then I asked about the other Charles because you said that they had a son named Charles. But then you said there was another Charles. Nephew. Okay.
Eliza, how many cars are in this parking lot?
She doesn't know what a car is.
She doesn't know what a car is.
1700. So a lot of times what I'll do and tell people is like, don't tell them, hey, come up to my camera or my spirit box. They don't have a clue what that is. It's just a box with lights. So if I say, come to the box with the red light or come to the box with the blue light, you know, I can see you through this box I'm holding. You know, you got to make
come
your...
come to this. Come to me.
You should walk around.
Yeah, driving around, so they're going to be a little weird about it.
Come. Put it up so you can see it.
Hi, hand. And my arms hurt from holding this. You've just been
Eliza.
the best.
What happened? We know there's a lot of questions. Can you tell us what happened to you?
Glass right there.
Put that up so you can see it better.
Oh, my arms hurt, okay? And you're stepping on glass.
I don't care if it's in here. See back there, this wasn't going crazy, now it's going crazy. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. Challenge.
Eliza, how old are you?
How old were you when you got married? How old were you when you passed?
I think it might.
Eliza, how old were you when you got married?
It might not never say a thing, but it might say something during the time. Oh, that's where you get your stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's going crazy right here. Right in here. Okay, turn your attention. See anything? It's not going to be up there.
No, it's ghost and stuff. Independent. So she's talking about before she got married. Independent. She's
The tours are great, don't get me wrong, for history. And I still take tours.
Right.
I still learn things from other tour guides. They don't know who I am.
Right.
I'm still the new guy on the block. I've only been doing this for 2 years. They've been doing it for 20 or 30. So when people see me coming with my noisemakers and my devices on my people, and they're like, there he is again. He's still out there. And we probably won't run into any other tours tonight. If we do, I'll be surprised.
Okay.
So it's a weekday. It's a little chillier for us. I'll probably be the only tour guy out working with me.
That is right.
Yeah. But I max my boots out at 10. I don't go to 20 like the city says.
Right.
No fun for you guys. I need good reviews. Yeah.
So it's like schools. You got one teacher per 20 kids. You don't learn anything.
I think it's sense
you
of
learn,
color.
but it's not as good as a smaller class like
Right.
this.
Eliza, what color am I? I'm not able to know.
No, I said people to know.
People to know, find you. That's infinite. She answered.
Writing books and just getting better at it. And podcasting and like news. I haven't done an episode in like 6 months because I've been so busy with schoolwork. I'll pick it back up in the next few months. I got 4 investigations sitting on my desk just waiting.
Oh wow.
I mean, I'm doing the work. I just got to put in the office work
Right.
to get it recorded and all that.
Eliza, what year are we in?
Why don't you know questions she would want to know? It's not like people keep track of the year. Most people today don't know the year.
Well, considering what he asked me earlier, that's a pretty legitimate question. That's almost an interesting study of do they know what's going on around them right now? So, I mean, I'm going to kind of take it. So if 2021 pops up somehow,
I heard a 1, but that's enough.
let's take it.
Take it.
All right, you guys ready for the answer?
January.
Yes.
What do
Jan.
you got?
Jan.
I got man, and then I got Jan, which could mean January.
Good.
But man was before that.
Okay.
And then I asked her because it came up man. I said, okay. So I don't know what happened to her, so of course I'm thinking all kinds of bad things because she said tragedies. So I'm asking her, you know, what happened to you, and then all of a sudden man. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, what did the man do to you? What did the man do? Like right now, it's not going off wild. It went off wild right in front of that like white truck. And then as I kept walking, like right in front of where the gate is, like right in that area. And like right now, it's going off crazy.
What month did she die?
December.
December.
I'm sorry.
Not
That's her
January.
birthday. May is when she died.
Not relevant.
So
Could
she
be.
was.
Probably.
Yeah, we can go. So she was 22 when she got married. Charles was 45. So it's a 23 age gap between them. So 22, 23, and 45 are all numbers I've gotten here in the past. They all make sense. So she was 70 when she died, and that was in Philadelphia. She was up there for one of 2 reasons: either to get breast cancer treatments or for business. She died from breast cancer that we know of in 1793. So again, cancer wasn't a thing yet. So we're going based off the medical records. It's a guesstimate that she had breast cancer. Let's see. She's also buried in Philadelphia, so that should also tell you why we don't visit cemeteries. I know that the name of the tour is a misnomer, but we're walking through one giant cemetery. And if you were dead, would you hang out where you're buried?
No.
Probably not. Most people expect me to take them through cemeteries.
Yeah, grandmother Ingrid was
Right.
buried
Yeah. Oh yeah.
4.5 hours away.
Right. So, again, most people, well, cemeteries we're not. What do you mean? The bodies are there. Right. Ghosts are here.
Okay.
They're cool to look at night. It's a little creepy. If that's what you want, go for it. And somebody else will go for it. You can do it on your own for free. So, what else? Oh, George Washington was the U.S. president that was the pallbearer at her funeral.
Oh, wow.
So if you think about it, her husband was the governor.
Oh, okay.
So, in 13 colonies, he knew his governors pretty well. To say the least.
Mm-hmm.
He's been through Charleston. He spent a lot of time here. He obviously knew the Pinckneys pretty well. He knew what Eliza was doing for the country. So he was able to, it was an honor for him. He actually voted himself to be a pallbearer at her funeral. He wanted to be. So, and what's funny is last week I had the word wood come up here twice. And somebody was asking who was president. Because George Washington is wood and teeth. So, it makes complete sense. Now, I didn't even know that fact. This is something I learned through my tours. As far as the George Washington bit, because I had George Washington come up twice in 1 week. I'm like, there's got to be a connection. Of course, I started my research, and lo and behold, there it is. But now, well, the wooden teeth thing came up last week, and with my tour, they're like, what? My daughter was with me. She's like, wasn't that Lincoln though? And I'm like, no. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was Washington. So it was. The word apple came up one night, and pie came up. He was a big fan of apple pie because he lived at Mount Vernon. So Martha used to make him apple pies all the time because it was his favorite. So all these things that make sense when we asked about the president. We didn't ask about the president here tonight, unless you did up there. So nothing around
No,
Washington.
if I just said he must have been someone special or whatever for a president to help you out.
Yeah.
Because when she said me, and I'm thinking different men that may have been in her life.
She had 4 kids.
Okay.
3 sons, 1 daughter. One of the sons didn't make it past infancy. We don't know how old the baby was. She did name him George after her father. So we have Thomas, Charles, George, and the daughter's name was Harriet. And a lot of times if the daughter is brought up, the word daughter comes up, oh, good, you had a daughter, tell me about her. You'll get things like ink, quill, letter, pen, things along those letters, because they had to write letters back and forth after she got married, because she married somebody from Myrtle Beach, and their last name was Ord. Myrtle Beach is in Horry County. So there's a lot of connections there, but we'll always get things relating to letters when we're asking more about the daughter. The mansion did burn down in 1861. Charleston has had dozens of fires. I don't know how many of them started. I didn't memorize that much because there's so many. But the Great Fire of 1861. I told you Eliza died in 1783. So it's obviously about 70 years after, like 68, 69 years after. So the house was still within the family. So we'll get the words fire, candle, smoke, burning, flame, anything relating to a fire when you ask about what happened to the mansion there. What else have you guys asked? So, the family, most of the kids were married off again, but the property was just in their name. And the only pictures of the mansion were after the fact. No pictures before. Now, the interesting thing is that my wife, who's also part of the story, we want to start a Prince Country store where people can buy their tickets, they can get gear. And we'll have books on the paranormal, of course, where I can sell fiction and non. But the upstairs will be a haunted hotel. Last month I had a brainiac idea of what if I bought this lot and recreated the Pinckney Mansion, and that was our shop. So I would need a lot of crowdfunding. I would need some archaeologists. I would need probably a good $20 million is about what I'll need for this.
Yeah. I mean, back then, you talked about money. They didn't have insurance, so they would have to start paying a
Right.
So to pay for something like that, if everything's destroyed, you have no collateral anymore. Everything's
Well,
destroyed.
the entire house wasn't destroyed.
Okay.
And what's interesting is I can't find any traces of where... This is Charleston. We recycle everything. Like, I have stories later on that tell you that a mansion from the Radcliffe Grove neighborhood, which is about 4 blocks from here, burnt down. And they saved some of the wood and put it over at Dr. Pier. What happens to the materials from here? I have no idea. I can't trace it. I can't find anything on it. Now, the other thing about this lot is there's supposed to be a commercial hotel here already. They were supposed to finish it last year, but of course COVID delayed that. They've never done an archaeological dig here, and they're not going to. That's another reason why I would love to have this land. I know some archaeologists in town that would work fairly cheap for what they normally charge, about $500,000, and be able to dig this up for me and give me the artifacts. So that way I have, obviously, Pinckney artifacts right in my museum/shop. So it would be part of that whole effect of, is your room really haunted? And of course everybody would get the whole premise is that everybody gets a kit, like a full bag, and I teach them how to use it for about an hour in their room, and they'll do that. Okay, we're up to video number 3.
Please.
Yes.
2 hands.
Sorry, it's just a screen.
That's not.
Alright, so where were we? Did I about cover everything? Oh, but I would basically charge people $500 a night. Because, I mean, they're going to get an hour with me to learn how to use it. And then, of course, they're going to get all their
One of the things I saw like posted there.
Top get it, too. That's the thing about that person. If people come into town, you're only going to get one night. You're not going to rent it out from tonight on tonight on tonight. You're not going to know how to all these hotels down here have a plan.
2 hands.
2 hands.
They all have a So,
Right.
I would have a whole hotel.
You'd be booked all the time.
Exactly. Not to mention, I would still be giving tours in the shop and everything else that's profitable about me knowing how to run a business. So, we are going to go, I'm trying to think of the best route where we're not going to be interfering with other people.
Can they actually try to contact us in a sense? 2 names have come up.
Which ones?
Emily and Ella. The only reason I'm saying that is because when I tell people my name is M, they assume it's Emily.
Right.
And I've been called Elle before when I was younger, and people thought it was Ella. So I'm not trying to like go out on a limb or anything
No.
like that.
No, I get
But
it.
it was just strange for those names to come up,
What is
especially
M short
Emily.
for?
Elma May.
Okay.
And no one's gonna guess that. I'm sorry. It's just
I am.
Well, maybe.
We can hang out for a bit if you want to.
I want to see what that
But she
turns
goes
into.
into these like she'll have like an anger mood, you know, like what person she doesn't have those, but we call one of her. I don't know if it's her crying or what. We call
One
her
of them's
Emily.
called Emily. She's the mean one. No,
Okay.
Emily's the mean one.
Okay, we don't want her.
And then yeah.
I am.
Okay. That was
Tim.
like my first real boyfriend. Not that you need to know that, but that's just. Sorry, Lou.
Let's hang out here for a second.
Okay.
Your boyfriend died?
No, but it's
There's,
now.
No,
There's
yeah.
just names coming up randomly.
I am.
That one I
I
don't
am
really
Tim.
know.
I am Sam.
Sam I don't really know. Tim I know. But it was just weird when Emily came up because a lot of like when I introduce myself as M, people just assume it's Emily, and then I look down
I
again.
thought
I'm
it was
like
going to be
Ella.
Emma, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I live in the South, so it's just, I don't live
Highlight.
in the North anymore.
Yeah. I grew up in a very small town, and to have a unique name when I was growing up was not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, think about all the things that my name rhymes with. I completely understand.
Oh yeah. Yes.
My
Yeah,
name
so when I was
was
in
nothing.
6th grade, my friends took the E from Elma and the M from May and just called me M. And
Double.
everyone's like, "Oh, your name is so nice. You want it? You can have it. I'm okay. You can have my name." I was named after my grandmother, and I should be so angry about it, but it was because of being brought up in a small town. It would be fine now because everyone's got strange names.
So
But
when I
back
moved
then-
down here from Ohio, city boy my whole life, and one of the first people I meet that I have to work with, her name was Alma, A-L-M-N, and then I had Eula, E-U-L-A, a name I'd never heard before. I'm like, what the hell is
Two
going on with these
hands.
names? So again, it was for me it was a culture shock. Again, I got the beach. I mean, I'm from Youngstown, Quilty, Ohio. You know what I mean? Like,
And people will always say, "Is it Alma?" I said it was Elma. Didn't you hear me the first time? It's with an E, not an A. Or they'll look at it and can't pronounce it. I'm looking at them like, it's 4 letters. It's not that difficult.
Can you pronounce the?
Exactly.
and people forget the K, or they'll add an H to my name. So, as far as just Nick, like Nicholas has an H, which is my real name, but Nick, people drop the K all the time. I'm like, when the hell did that become a thing?
Right.
Like, my whole childhood, it was fine. Now, all of a sudden, the past 10
Highlight,
years,
double hold.
there's no K. And I'm like, where the hell did the K go? Like, why do people keep calling me Meek? Meek. I'm not Meek. Right, so, alright. Okay, let's go. I think the easiest way to go, where we're going to be kind of avoid crowds, is going to be through this lot to Believers Alley and then cutting across the market so that way we can get up to Philadelphia Alley. So, I noticed, like, you guys have cards, but here's the reason why I'm even thinking about masks at this point, is because we're considered a mixed group, and anybody down here is going to recognize me as a tour guide.
Okay.
So,
Like I said, I can.
you guys
pull
have your
it
cards out. I noticed you don't have a card. That's the only reason why.
Oh, no, I don't have a card.
Okay.
I don't need
So,
one.
but they're giving citations.
Okay.
If I have to take my mask off, you're not going to pay my ticket. I'm not going to pay yours.
Right.
So, this late on a weekday, do I expect the livability officer to be out? I don't. But
Mm-hmm.
it's up to you guys. But you guys have your cards out. I'm assuming that's what those are.
Yes,
Right?
they are.
So I wouldn't even worry about it. I was more worried about you.
Yeah.
So,
Yep, I'm good.
all right.
My arms are so tired. Is that a toilet? No way. I see a toilet from here. Okay then. My arms are so tired.
I was going to hit my vape. I had like blow smoke. So this is an alley too.
Mm-hmm.
This is called Rayford Alley. There's no activity here. I mean, like, I'm looking at this building here for months.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be another good spot for me. Of course, it's right next to the market. You know what I mean? Like, I need a prime location.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, the store is like a 2 to 5 year plan. I can get it crowdfunded ahead of time. Ready for some tickets.
I can't feel all this. Relative? Huh.
Relative.
Relative. Okay. What?
Found.
Relative? Found.
Relative.
Relative. Sorry. Relative found. Relative found. Okay. That's an odd thing. You guys are missing all the white and black. Ah. Excuse me.
You're not going with them. She doesn't love me. And then I got, why did she leave me? She doesn't love me. I'm like, okay, now you're breaking my heart.
Back home in New York?
She knows she was actually supposed to go to Virginia with my aunt and my 7-year-old. So, we were supposed to go on vacation. It was just supposed to be us 3. And then it was, why didn't she take me? She doesn't love me anymore. And I'm like, oh my god, you're breaking my heart. Stop it. Carry it down like this. It'll be done.
When my back hurts, I just trip.
And stop complaining. You will survive.
I'm okay with it. I push that. I push the Sarah fine. I'm just so heavy. It's bricks. I just didn't think it was near down here. I wanted us to see stuff, but like, why is it so heavy? Oh, my arm up with my arm. I can't.
The alley I'm going to tell you guys about when we get to our first stop at the rock. Can't take you down there.
You'll explain why you can't take us down there?
Yep.
Okay. I want to be so heavy. Stand. I'm tired.
No one turn into anything. Okay, thank you. Watch where you're going with it, please.
The wall of it over along past the courtyard. You guys see the doorway up in the center of it?
Yeah.
So that used to be called Dueler's Alley. And I can't go down there anymore because technically it is a residential area and tour guides aren't allowed in those kind of areas. So as you can see, it was empty. Normally that would have been a top spot for those tours. But I'm going to kind of give you guys the gist of that story just in case something likes to pop up through the spirit boxes. So Dueler's Alley, this is where the duels would occur. So again, very interesting because, but that doorway, I'm sorry, I didn't find the door. So when there was a death during a duel, that person, the dead person, would come through the doorway, over this courtyard, and then over the sink. They would drop the body and then go celebrate the winner. That's what that doorway is actually for. It's original. So there is a story in there, kind of making it somewhat brief, just so that it can be flashed. So there was a doctor that moved here to town from New Jersey. His name was Dr. Joseph Brownline. He moved here because his fiancee Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. So the attorney that was handling the money said, "You're not getting married. I think he's just after your money. Send the doctor away to go start his practice elsewhere, and we'll talk later." So the doctor moves to Charleston. It's an up-and-coming city. It's the early to mid 1800s, roughly. So he comes into town, and the coachman that brings him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. Not a very good start, but somebody walking by, luckily, sees what's happening. His name was Ralph Isaacs. He says, "You don't want to stay here. Let me take you somewhere else." He takes him to 59 Church Street, or on Church Street, so it's about a mile that way. So he takes him from uptown all the way down here. The two become friends. The doctor's practice starts to take off. He's making lots of money. Amanda's going to be moving down soon. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. And that's what everybody called him. He's a very happy, jovial guy. So him and Ralph, they go see plays together. But the doctor makes more money than Ralph now. So the doctor gets much better seats. So they have to talk about these plays on the way home. They can't talk about it during the play because they're not sitting next to each other. So
They can't buy. Oh, back then it didn't work like
right,
that. Okay,
it
sorry.
went based off a hierarchy. So with that being said, they talk about these plays on the way home. They're talking about William III one night, and the doctor loves the new actress, but Ralph doesn't. They start arguing over this actress, and then it turns into an insult party on the doctor's fiance back home. Obviously, they get very mad at each other. They go their separate ways, but Ralph, who's from here, he decides he's going to put an ad in the paper and tell the whole city of Charleston what a jerk the doctor is. He's not from here, he charges too much, yada yada yada. The doctor sees the ad and challenges him to a duel to finish it off. So they come down here, they take their 20 paces, they turn, and the doctor points his gun in the air and he shoots. He didn't want to kill his friend, he just wanted to make a point. Ralph, however, has one shot, and he takes the shot on the doctor's kneecap. So, he didn't die and come through the death gate. His friends pick him up and carry him a mile home. He dies 10 days later. They say as you walk through the alley, you can hear the whistles of the doctor and or gunshots. So, lots of interesting things have happened down that alley. Plus, it's gorgeous. If the name Amanda comes up, doctor, doctrine, medicine,
Happy.
kneecap has come up here before.
Happy? Okay, now I'm scared. This is like,
He would have
He
been
just,
happy.
but I mean, he said that he was a happy-go-lucky
He's-
kind of person.
That's
so.
why he used to whistle all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, exactly.
I can't whistle.
So, there's a lot of stories that go on here. That's kind of the extra one that I don't tell anymore. So,
Crazy what people used to do.
I know, right?
Really? I mean, is it really that crazy?
No,
Alexander
they're still doing
Hamilton
it,
tried
but
to
in
prove the
different
point,
ways.
but then he gets killed anyways.
Right, but they're doing it in different ways now.
Exactly.
The whole jealousy thing, there's no kneecap.
Well, now.
There's no kneecap. Oh, you have
No.
a better pair of shoes tonight. Boom, you're gone.
Exactly.
So,
No, they just like slaughter them. Like,
you know, Caleb.
So,
That's interesting.
this
Two
is
of
St. Philip's Church. This is Church Street. The reason why it's called Church Street is because St. Philip's was the only building they couldn't move when they widened the road. If you look at it over Google Maps, there's literally a half moon around the church. And it just picks up on the other side, parallel to where we are now.
Yeah, I was wondering why, because we walked this way to take some pictures, and I was like, that's
Two
really
sides.
odd that it would curve. Like, usually you don't see the.
Well, this used to be called Dock Street, and that's where Dock Street Theater is. We have another tour coming up by us, so let's try to get close to the wall and let them pass. They're going to go straight up to the church. But yeah, Dock Street Theater is one block away there. So,
Okay. Nice.
how you doing? Hi, how are you? Good, good. People coming by.
Yeah, pretty much all the cool guys.
So, Dock Street Theater
Mm-hmm.
has its own ghosts. There was a young lady that worked here at the church, and her name is Nettie Dickerson. She's seen all of the prostitution that was going on down at Dock Street Theater, which was Planters Hotel back then. Don't worry, I'll keep it PG, Mom.
You,
Don't worry about it.
don't worry about it.
I still keep it PG.
That's fine.
Gotta be family friendly. So,
That's fine.
Anyway, she sees all the prostitution. She goes down there, and she is past the marrying age of 17. Nobody wants to marry her. She's 23. So she sees all the fun that's going on down at Planters, and she puts on her best red dress, and she goes down there and gets a job. Now, when she gets her job, she's the best loved girl in the whole place, but she's still not happy. So she goes out to the second-story balcony and ponder about coming back to the church. The priest sees her out there one night, goes down to talk to her and convince her to come back. A storm rolls in, and lightning strikes the wrought iron banister that she's leaned on, kills her. Now, you could see her ghost from the knees up only, because when we renovated Dock Street Theater in the early 2000s, we raised the first floor ceiling, so she's walking on the second floor that she knows. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
yeah.
Kind of see it now? That's why I do the hand thing.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yep. But it took a nerd like me to figure out the construction of the building and why we have such a short ghost where you can't see the hem of her dress. So the other ghost that's there is that of Junius Booth. Junius Booth was the father of John Wilkes Booth, who shot Lincoln in a theater. Junius Booth was a traveling actor coming through town, and Dock Street Theater was the original Dock Street Theater. They say you could see him in period dress. That was also the same location I told you where there was wood moved from the Radcliffe Borough Mansion up to another building. That was Dock Street Theater. The wood is still there. That's why I think it's haunted. And the wood that is in there from that mansion, I can't reach. It's the chair rail on the second balcony, and it's the doors leading into the first main floor. So, They won't let you in there during the daytime. As far as getting that close to certain things, you can go in and take pictures galore, but those things seem to be off limits. So my investigation was obviously during the daytime, so forth and so on. But it's a very interesting place. It's a gorgeous theater. I've actually been there to go see a play. Like it's still active, so it's absolutely gorgeous in there. And you can actually tour it during the daytime. Like, you can go right up to it and just go walk around.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. We're gonna actually head across the street. That cop seems to be in the spot I normally go to. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in that entrance, and we're gonna go off to that corner. I'll tell you what's going on with this building, and we're gonna do one last like question and answer type investigation, and that's kind of like the last of the stories, I guess, to say. But there's so many holes here. By this point, you guys should be able to come up with your own questions, because there's a lot to this story that I'm missing. So that's one that we can get. Can you jump a curb without waking her up?
Oh yeah. Be very careful if you need me. Might want to also go up to some of the top of the image building.
Only because I would normally take people down Philadelphia Alley and then take them to a final stop on East Bay Street. That way everybody kind of knew where they were. So I had to add this story. And what I'm finding after each version that I read, there's only certain similarities between the stories. So this is the Powder Magazine. You guys see the building with the crosses on it? Those aren't crosses. Those are our first earthquake bolts that we installed in Charleston. So you guys learned about earthquake bolts earlier.
Yes. Our carriage was this way, and that's the first thing he told us. He said normally on the buildings or whatever they're circles. On this one they're not. That's supposed to be one of the oldest buildings. Is that correct?
The oldest government building on the East Coast, actually.
Okay.
So it held gunpowder for 7 different wars, and it is also right inside the Charlestown walls. So Cumberland Street, which is this road right here, this is where the Charlestown Wall started. So the city started right here and went down towards the battery. So it's actually right in the corner of where the Charlestown Wall would have met, the next bastion up at the corner. So it's literally tucked away as far into that corner as possible, and it's 3 blocks away from the water. The water is behind me. So if it were to get attacked by ships or cannon, then there's 32-inch thick walls that would keep it protected. But if in case it did penetrate through the walls, the roof you see is filled with sand from 1712. So that way, if the sand would get blown up and then drop to put out whatever fire was there.
Wow.
That was the gist of it. It doesn't work. We have another Powder Magazine that was attacked, and it's no longer here because of that exact reason. I don't know if there wasn't enough sand to penetrate the fire and put it out, but again, this one has never been attacked, and the sand from 1712 is still there because sand does not disintegrate. It's a very small museum, but at the time, it's a museum now, but at the time, it would have held thousands of pounds of gunpowder. So, now, during the time period that this was being built, which would have been like a full decade of like 1703 to 1713, there was a young lady that moved here from Ireland with her dad. Her name was Anne Cormack. Anne Cormack. So, this was from Ireland. He moved here because Anne's mother was his mistress. So to get away from his wife, he picked up his mistress and his daughter and moved here. This would have been about 1708, 1709, so the constructed this would have been here. Anne turns into a teenager. This building is completed. And Anne, we have pirates coming through town. Anne falls in love with one of those pirates. His name is James Bonny. Father doesn't approve, but Anne wants to get out of Charleston. She wants a badass pirate. She moves to Jamaica and gets married.
So is it Jamaica?
Jamaica, yeah, Nassau.
Okay.
So with that being said, she becomes Anne Bonny, which is a very famous female pirate. One of the most famous female pirates. And she started her American life here. So the interesting thing is that James Bonny did not turn out to be the pirate that she wanted him to be. She wanted a badass Johnny Depp type pirate. And this guy just wasn't it. He actually turned into a privateer, which means he was spying on his own crew for the British. So now she's got a traitor. So what does she do? She falls in love with another pirate. His name is John Ratham, aka Calico Jack. Much cooler name. He's got his own ship. She wants to be part of it. However, females during that time would have cursed the pirate ship He says, you can come on the ship and be a female in my quarters, but you have to be a male on the crew. So she has to dress like a male to be part of the crew. So she does so, and of course, her being a female in his quarters, she eventually becomes pregnant. So what's Calico Jack do? He drops her off in Cuba. He says, have the baby here. We can't have the men finding out that you're female. He drops her off with friends. He goes about his merry way. Comes back 9 months later, but she's dressed like a female. She doesn't care, and there's no baby. We have no idea what happened to that baby. Again, holes in the story. So she's not afraid to hide her gender anymore. Calico Jack's pretty mad. She decides she's going to go down below deck because Calico Jack, during the time that she was gone, he captured another crew, and they were all being held prisoner down below deck. She's going to go downstairs, and she's going to start flirting with those pirates that he captured. We're on a third guy, picture of county. That guy that she happened to be flirting with, turns out that that person was doing the exact same thing she was doing to get aboard Calico Jack's ship. This was a female, just like a man. She reveals her gender. Her name is Mary Reed. The two become friends, and Anne convinces Mary to become part of the crew. And she does so. Now, everybody's drunk downstairs, protecting those prisoners, whatever treasure they found. The British Navy rolls in. Anne and Mary were the only two not drunk enough to actually defend them. So they're out there fighting away. Obviously, the ship gets captured. All the pirates down below deck, including the prisoners, were tried and hung for piracy. Anne and Mary, because they fought back, were tried a week later in Jamaica. The Chief Justice, Nicholas Laws, says, okay, you're going to be hung for piracy. Then they reveal their genders. He says, I don't care. I don't care that you're female. Then they pled their bellies, which basically means they both claim to be pregnant. He says, okay, I'm still going to convict you for piracy, but we're going to delay your hanging until after the babies are born. He said, okay. So Anne's father, who's still here in Charleston, has enough money to bail her out. So he does. So he bails out Anne. She's scot-free. She comes back to Charleston, apparently lives a very long life to the age of 84. That's all we know. Remarried again, had a few kids. Some people say she moved to Virginia. Some say she stayed here. We have no idea. Now, Mary Reed, she died from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imagination. So,
They get hanged.
she died in jail. That much we do know. We don't know that she got hung. So, that's the tie to the powder magazine that we're standing at now. What do I get here? I get Anne's name, I get Mary's name, I get Save My Child. I've gotten the name Nicholas here before. That would have been the Chief Justice that tried her. I've gotten the date. I've gotten November 28th before.
I got sympathy.
I got the number 300. That's good. The number 300, that was in 1720. Guess what date I started doing this part of the tour?
30 days ago.
November 28th, 1720. Exactly 300 years to the day.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, this is a very interesting case. I'm gathering more and more from it, and everything I just spouted off really quickly came from like 4 or 5 different books, multiple documentaries, obviously dozens of hours of YouTube videos trying to find as much as I can about Anne Bonny. And again, I had to create a story for these guys. But at the same time, I don't know all the answers because none of the stories are consistent. None of them have the same tale. Now, I literally spent my day off yesterday after doing my homework watching 5 hours of a new thing on Netflix called The Lost Pirate Kingdom, because Anne Bonny is part of that whole docu-series. It was amazing, by the way. So if you want to know more about Blackbeard and that kind of thing, it's very in tune, and it's from a British point of view. So the interesting thing is that it's only half right. I can recognize certain things, but I can't recognize others. The finishing story of Anne Bonny, they don't tell how she, they just said that she was released because she was pregnant. They didn't talk about Dad at all. They said some things about Dad used to rape her when she was a kid and all kinds of mess. But it was kind of like, all right.
Earlier it said mess, just so you know.
Did it really?
Yes.
Anne Bonny was kind of a mess altogether because she just
It said mess, I'm like, what?
she just wanted freedom.
Right.
And the pirate life for her back then would have given her that freedom. That's the main point. She just didn't want to be under man's thumb. That's 17. So we're going to kind of get close to the powder magazine, check out the front of it. We're going to listen to that Spirit Box of yours lightly. Just
Now, can we actually take pictures with our phone? Are you okay with that, or should we not?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
didn't know if there was anything as far as spirit-wise or whatever. Okay.
I normally have a digital camera among the group, and they're usually focused on the lasers, but I usually tell them, and even if you guys capture something that you're unsure of, you can send it over to me. My wife knows every cell phone and every camera. Her day job is she's the cell phone manager for Best Buy, and her degree is in photography. So if you guys catch something, we'll be able to debunk it or prove it for you either way. The first question we ask is, what type of phone is it? Like, I get pictures all the time.
Pixel 3.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Oh, perfect. My
It's
wife
not a
has a Pixel
smartphone.
5.
It's a. I won't call it a dumb phone, but
Yeah,
it is what it is,
It's for
and it
social
works.
media.
It works. That's all that matters.
Are you getting any other?
No, that was mine.
Because apparently there was a Charles Dance pilot. I learned a lot about that. I've seen the words Legos as the past. And I've seen this location a lot, and that was the main time that they had it. So
Now, would Monster have been used at all?
sure.
I mean, that would work.
Stuff I was actually hoping Psychopath would come up again. And then maybe get talk.
Now, who's up here? Does that mean he's lost a lot of activity? Or is that
Right. It's meant for the aesthetic of it being. So there's like volume for that as well.
Okay.
Keep it all down. It's all meant for.
Okay. So I just mean something.
I thought about designing my own app, just that it has way more than 9,000 terms in it. You know,
1 hour, $4.
I was thinking more like
Caleb.
All day.
20,000
Caleb.
words, and let's see what comes up out of that.
Yeah.
Instead of Alex, yes, and Daddy, no. Like things like that come up out of there all the time. I can hold on and take that. Yes, I mean, we took pictures of some girls' eyes, and it was like, I got here and we were like, kind of like going like this with the right. So, well, there's pictures on the front with me too. And his spirit box is people when they're recording anyway, so it's not like we can't listen to it in the morning. Oh, you still have it? Ah. Oh, there's the warrant. Warrant for her arrest. For sure.
Yeah, it keeps coming up with different names. Layla was one of them. One of them, the daughter who was really the thing.
Yeah, it's honestly it's like a 30-minute tour. It's $5 to get it. Check this out. I want to see this passport. Because they carry books that they get a lot of the locals books and something else.
So then, what is this right here in front? Is that also part of the museum, or what exactly is that?
Oh no,
compared
this
to
is
that?
the side.
Okay.
The front we're gonna go up to. That's an apartment building.
Okay.
People live back there.
Oh, okay. But I mean, now when you said about the sand,
It's in the roof of those
This one.
red shingles.
Like those shingles.
oh, here I'm thinking, I'm looking at this. thinking
No.
that that's it.
Nope.
So it's this.
Right.
Oh, all right.
The not brick building?
Yeah, let me show you the front of it. So that
Hey, look. She can't do both.
Yeah, sorry. I will grab the throw.
I'm like, careful as a pothole.
I knew I was missing something.
Yeah.
I have to do
Yes. Yeah, I don't even. From the carriage, and you just saw like this thing here, but then when you see the building behind, you just automatically think it's all connected.
well, technically it is connected. I want to say you can get to those apartments through
Through the inside.
right. There's weird doors, and this building has been I don't know how many things, but mainly it was used for a powder magazine. That's what we still call it now, only because of the original intent. But for a long time, there was nothing like it wasn't being used for anything. They just finished renovating it in the 1990s, and they turned it into a museum in the early 2000s. That was there. But yeah, I didn't even like believe this thing. I didn't even want to do this part. My wife's like, we might have to get into pirates. I think we just might have to. I know you don't like pirates. I know you don't like the legend of lore. But the more I read about it, like what a cool time.
Interesting.
Just,
Not
I mean, the
one I
politics.
lived it. What? No, nothing. Nothing.
Anything to politics or worse.
We're supposed to be learning as we go along, but it is.
It's like, yeah. I mean, Anthony got lost. If you have that message, it's like the number 2 show this week. You can't miss it. It's fine. It's like 5 hours. It's called The Lost in the Sky. Okay. You really want to know about, like, they don't talk a lot about Charlton in there, but they do mention Steve Ballmer. Classic song because we trust him pretty well. He was a plantation owner. And he bought his ship and had it made instead of taking it. So him and his men were homebound. And just so you know, the Chief Justice that invested the first justice in the United States was from here. His name was Chief Ross. He's the one who tried them. His water name was Chief Justice.
Well, I was going to think of a question to ask for that one.
The house next to
That-
us, they say his name was John's house. That's misnomer as well. So he only lived there for a short period of time while he was waiting to move into where the Duxbury Theater is now. It was long before Planters Hotel. It used to be a house. So if you visit Duxbury Theater and you go back to the elevator, you can actually live coming up and down the floor where he used to take it up because that was his prison. And there's so many interesting things about it's kind of like
They like to twist it because sometimes it's not exciting. So then they try to add little things to make it exciting, and then someone else gets a hold of it and then blows it way out of proportion. So,
well, the fact that the city there, they moved it.
Hi. Have a good night.
Yeah, that's all in this house. Nothing like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Obviously, the cannon is cool. That's here because they held gunpowder, but the gallows really. So, but it is a really cool building. Again, it's a short tour if you like to look at artillery and see all the different buildings right there. You know, how small it was between us and Florida and Florida.
right.
Have artillery. Exactly.
Again, it wasn't truly here. Nobody suffered here. This wasn't a prison. They had guardsmen guarding the gunpowder, and that was about it until it got moved. Because they moved gunpowder all the time.
This may be a stupid question, but is this number supposed to be continuing to move?
As long as the square is red, what
Okay.
probably happened is somebody probably flipped it, and when it gets flipped, the number stopped. Not a
Okay.
big deal.
Okay.
I'm more worried about the red
I
square.
figured, I was like, let me just ask.
So with this being said, I'm going to wrap this up and start collecting the Nazi's devices. What questions, comments, concerns do y'all have for me? Drinking. Looks like she might actually want to stop here. So let's go across the street and we'll collect everything.
Mom, I was going to grab some syrup.
That's right, Caleb. I'll grab her. What? Sorry, I got her.
Are you sure? Sorry, have her.
Did the lady that we first started off with have something to do with that also? Or no,
Her
we
slave.
wouldn't
Her slave
with the indigo.
had it.
Right, it was a tribe or whatever.
Just part of the
Okay. Okay. Well, then we just let me just ask him that. Yeah.
Okay, and there's no relation to time, but I know the development person that was
Yeah. When we were talking about your plan. That's different. It's called Pilargo, the other color. It's just
Right.
this blue. It was just like, and it does. It has this calming feeling type thing.
The lights over there was actually talking with your phone. Actually, what makes a lot of sense because that is drunk.
Yeah, but when I was thinking they could do you know why they did a lot of drinking? They needed to, they had
That's why we don't want to drink from the sea. That was just me. I didn't even see him.
Initials are always sometimes I think it's a little early. They think it's better. I've had EW come through before. Take your spirit box.
I have a question. Are you talking like what it was? Like a white spot? Is that something?
It's always going to be a light. So the white spots are going to be like outlines. So really what you're seeing is probably a piece of a shadow, maybe some stars off in the distance. But
It's just random. They're not always there.
okay, I'll definitely take a look.
And then if you can, you see like a splat mark right there.
Yeah, it's just the way the building is. It's going to be taking on heat and cold.
Because it wasn't there before. All of a sudden there was a blot and then it splattered.
Okay.
Just so you know, it was just weird. I was like, what?
Those are the things I have to dive into because I don't watch this whole thing. So the fact that you're telling me verbally is that's
Like I
what I have to
said,
watch.